Hey Dylan, I wanted to leave you some feedback on Essay 2. I think you have some good points in this essay, and I like the definition that you're working with. But let's talk about ways that you can make your definition stronger. So first off, you want to make sure that you fully format your paper to help build ethos. So make sure that you have the correct heading, and you have your header here in your upper right hand corner. Also, you forgot your works cited page, so make sure that you include your works cited page as well. So with this sentence, I get the idea that you're trying to explore here, but you have a grammatical error in parallelism. So if you reread this sentence, right here is where it starts to get clunky. And so basically, the idea is that if you're joining two clauses together with one of the fanboys, and you're using the fanboy or here, you want to make sure that the words or the clauses are beginning with the same word type. So you say, if you can speak fluently enough to have a conversation, or obtaining enough knowledge. So you have a gerund here, but on this side you're not using a gerund, and so you have an issue with parallelism there, which is why that sentence is awkward. So make sure that you go back and do some tweaking here. Also be certain to remain in formal tone. So I get what you mean by 50-50, but you need to fully explain that, right? Try to avoid colloquialisms in professional writing. So that I like the idea that you want to argue that education is creativity. But that idea kind of falls out of your paper. You really don't get to it again until you talk about how your English teacher in the 10th grade was very creative in her lesson planning. But if you're arguing, so that's good. Yeah, like that's what you're supposed to do. But if you want to argue that creativity is part of education, you need to make sure that you're reinforcing that idea throughout the paragraphs, and that idea kind of like drops out of the paper. And you're kind of hinting at it, but you need it to be more explicit. Also, be certain to edit for your comma splice here. So you're talking about the fact that you feel like you've been relearning the same math assignments over and over again. And so I assume that what you mean is this is not fostering creativity, but you don't say that. And so you need to make sure that you're connecting it to the idea of creativity. So I think that you have some more work here. So, how is this not creative? Why would you not put this in the category of creative? And maybe really what you need to do then is explore what creativity means to you. And then perhaps look at, well, what would a creative math classroom look like, right? So if you were able to see how your English instructor was creative with writing and thinking, how could that same idea be applied to a math classroom? So you pose this question like, where is it? Who gives these people the right to determine how you should live and grow? Well, I'll answer that for you. I'm not saying that they're right and you're wrong, and nor am I saying vice versa. If you remember what Gatto says, schools are essentially reflecting middle class values, and so that's why schools value punctuality. That's why schools value or purport to value punctuality, purport to value career readiness, good citizenship, all that stuff. So the answer to that question is schools reflect the value of mainstream society. So I think that's a fair question to pose, but the idea kind of falls flat. So I might dig into that a little bit deeper, meaning because I like the idea that you said that not everyone is the same. So perhaps, how does mainstream society and how do schools reinforce the idea that we all should be the same? And why might that be harmful for some, right? So that's something that Gatto really talks about. And so I think that you might be onto a good idea here. It's just not fully realized. In addition, make sure that you are being you are creating a full signal phrase with each of your sources. So what you've done here is you're cherry picking evidence. So essentially that means that you're taking a piece of evidence, uh, like a minor point from the essay, and using it to suit your purposes without being fully fair to the article. So remember, in Unit 1, we practice signal phrases and summaries. So what you need to do is create a full signal phrase here that presents the author's name and their title, and then the objective summary. So objectively capture the author's overall main idea, so that you can then present the minor point that you want to include in your essay. Otherwise, like I said, it's like you're cherry picking evidence, and the reader's going to recognize that they need more background information on that writer, to understand what their argument is before you bring in those minor points. So basically, it's all about connecting ethos with your audience. I'm not quite sure how these two ideas actually connect together. So the idea of censorship on campus, and societal roles. So one of two things I think needs to happen here. These should actually be two separate paragraphs, or you need to develop these ideas in this paragraph more, because like I said before, these ideas fell flat for me. I definitely agree that the cost of college is indeed an issue, and honestly, this was the point that I wish that you dug in a little bit more on. And again, with Gatto, you're cherry picking the evidence there. So make sure that you create that full signal phrase and capture his argument, before you cherry pick that evidence. And honestly, I think that you should incorporate Gatto more into this paper, because, well, you guys, your lines of argument seem to align with one another. Like I said before, you present that interesting idea of creativity, but that idea like drops off. And I wish that was more explicitly reinforced in each of these paragraphs, where you're essentially defining what you believe creativity to be, and then looking at these various examples and trying to determine if they fall into your category of creativity in the classroom or creativity in terms of education or not. So that's my feedback for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.